into season 6 of Dexter, my expectations were very low. Even though I loved the previous seasons, yes, even with season 5 being a bit of a step down, I still found a lot of enjoyment in it. The general consensus I kept hearing was that this is where the show really starts to decline. People told me over and over that season 6 was messy, poorly written, and had some of the most baffling creative choices in the entire series. Still, I went in with at least a small sliver of hope. Sometimes when a show gets universally bashed, I end up liking it more than others. So a part of me was curious. Maybe I'd find something to latch on to. Maybe it wouldn't be as bad as people say. Unfortunately, those hopes were crushed. For me, this is the first truly bad season of Dexter. It's not just a step down like season 5, where you could still see the bones of a good story underneath. This one feels like it completely misunderstands what makes the show great in the first place. The writing takes Dexter in baffling directions, the characters are mishandled, and the tone feels all over the place. It's frustrating because there are sparks of good ideas here and there, but they were drowned out by a sea of poor execution and just flat-out dumb decisions. The general premise of season 6 revolves around religion and faith. The Doomsday Killer serves as the central antagonist, living elaborate, biblical-themed crime scenes inspired by the Book of Revelation. Meanwhile, Dexter begins to grapple with the concept of faith himself, both in the context of religion and in terms of what kind of father he wants to be for Harrison. The season tries to be deeper and more thought-provoking by exploring the theology, morality, and destiny, but the way it's handled often feels clunky and surface level rather than profound. At the same time, we see characters like Deborah step into new leadership roles, while others like Quinn spiral downward. All of this should make for compelling television, but the execution often leaves a lot to be desired. There are a few positives though. I really like the overall religious theme of the season. Even though the execution is far from perfect, there's something inherently interesting about Dexter, this man who lives by his own code, having to confront the concept of God, sin, and redemption. There are moments where the season teases really fascinating philosophical questions, and those moments do work. Also, the kills carried out by the Doomsday Killer are very creative and memorable in terms of imagery. The biblical staging of corpses and apocalyptic symbolism feels visually striking, and it fits thematically with the season's focus on belief and morality. If nothing else, the kills in this season stand out as some of the most gruesome and ambitious in the series. That being said, the negatives absolutely overwhelmed the season. The biggest one for me is Deborah falling in love with Dexter. That entire subplot is one of the most misguided creative decisions I've ever seen in a TV show. It's so out of place, so out of character, and honestly, one of the grossest, most awkward things I've had to sit through. Deborah has always been such a strong, layered character, and to reduce her to a weird, pseudo-romantic storyline with her adopted brother is insulting. It feels desperate, like the writers ran out of ideas and decided to shock for the sake of shocking. Dexter himself is also written horribly this season. He comes across as unbelievably dumb, constantly ignoring or forgetting the very lessons Harry drilled into him since childhood. For years, Dexter has been portrayed as careful, methodical, and calculated, but here he suddenly acts reckless and sloppy in ways that feel inconsistent with everything we know about him. It's frustrating watching a character who has always been defined by precision suddenly make boneheaded voices just to force drama. Deborah in general is also a mess this season, and I say that as someone who loves her character in the earlier seasons. She's one of my favorites, but in season 6, she's written so horribly. The dialogue they give her is atrocious. She makes frustratingly dumb decisions, and there's one scene where she just trashes Quinn in a way that feels completely out of character. Speaking of Quinn, don't even get me started on how they ruined his relationship with Deb. In season 5, I really enjoyed them together. There was chemistry, there was conflict, and it gave both of them more depth. But in season 6, they just throw it all away with a lazy excuse that Deb wants to focus on her career. It's such a weak, uninspired reason to end a relationship that actually worked. And then Quinn himself, he might as well not even exist this season. He doesn't do anything of value. His subplot is meaningless, and the show wastes an entire character for no good reason. And as much as I praised the visuals of the Doomsday Killer's murders earlier, as an actual villain, it just isn't compelling. It doesn't have the depth or complexity of someone like Trinity, or even Jordan Chase from season 5. It feels more like a gimmick than a fully fleshed out character. The show tries to elevate him with religious themes, but in practice, he feels just flat, uninteresting, and even a little cartoonish at times. For a series that gave us films as unforgettable as The Astro Killer and Trinity, The Doomsday Killer feels like a massive step down. And finally, if you thought I was harsh on how Season 5 mishandled Batista and LaGuerta, Season 6 somehow manages to do even worse. They take that relationship, which could have gone in so many interesting directions, and completely throw it in the trash. It's not just bad, it's insulting to the characters and to the audience who invested in them. It's one of those choices that makes you wonder if the writers ever rewatched their own show before writing new episodes. Overall, I really dislike Season 6 of Dexter. It annoyed me on so many levels and felt like such a huge misdirection for the show. While there are small glimpses of good ideas like the exploration of religion or some of the kills, the execution is botched beyond repair. The characters are mishandled, the writing is sloppy, and some of the creative choices are downright embarrassing. For me, this is a season where Dexter truly stumbles for the first time, and it deserves its reputation as one of the low points of the series. I'd give it a 4 out of 10. And that's where I'll leave it. Those are my thoughts on Dexter Season 6. But of course, I want to hear from you. Did you find anything that in this season that worked better for you than it did for me? Do you agree that the Deborah storyline was a complete disaster? Or do you think it added something interesting to your character? What about the Doomsday Killer? Were you into that plot, or did it feel as hollow for you as it did for me? And how do you feel about the way Quinn, Batista, and LaGuerta were handled here? Drop all your thoughts, your opinions, and theories in the comments, because I really want to know how other people view this season. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this breakdown, and I'll see you in the next review.